Episode number 20, topic two major convergence. The conversion of Umar Raziallahu Anhu and Hamza Raziallahu Anhu. In the last episode, we saw about the second migration to Abyssinia. Just after the second batch of Muslims left for Abyssinia, Allah helped the Makkans by reverting two major personalities in Makkah. The two major conversions took place after the bulk of the Muslims migrated to Abyssinia for the second time. Some scholars say that there were only around 37 to 38 Muslim men left in Makkah. Allah then blessed two people to embrace Islam, Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib and Umar ibn al-Khattab. And these two conversions proved to be of immense significance and provided a substantial boost to the safety and security of the Muslims in Makkah. Let us see the conversion of Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib. He was the uncle of the Prophet. It is narrated that Hamza was a well-known archer. He was one of the strongest men in Makkah. He would often go on long hunting expeditions, and when he returned, he would go to the Kaaba, do tawaf, and go home. One day, what happened was Abu Jahl was in a foul mood and he cursed the Prophet and his ancestors like anything. One of the women of Banu Hashim got extremely upset on seeing this, and she was very angry. When Hamza returned from one of his expeditions, some of the women began to taunt him. What type of an uncle you are? You do not help your nephew. Where is your honor? So Hamza asked, what happened? The women said, Abu Jahl cursed the Prophet and his ancestors like anything. They narrated whatever happened that day. Hamza asked, did this happen in public? Did the people see this humiliation? They told, yes, the whole of Makkah saw it. It was a public insult. So Hamza lost it. He was very angry. He straight away marched to the Kaaba, still with his bow and arrow, and went straight to Abu Jahl and smacked him, hit him across the face with his bow, causing a huge gush of blood to come out. And Hamza said, how dare you curse my own nephew? And he didn't even realize what he was saying. And he just said the next sentence was, and I too am a follower of his religion. What are you going to do now? And this was not, of course, planned, but he said this. He just wanted to defend the Prophet. When this happened, the tribes of Banu Makhzum around Abu Jahl, the people stood around Abu Jahl to fight Hamza. But Abu Jahl said, leave him. Don't fight. For I have cursed his nephew like never before. Then Hamza returned home, confused and dazed. What did I tell just now? And he prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, you know I'm one of the leaders of the Quraysh. And I have said something that I cannot take back. So if this matter is true, guide my heart to it. And if it is not true, cause me to die right now. So he spent the most miserable night in his bed. The next morning, he went to the Prophet and told him the whole story. The Prophet stood up and began talking to him, convincing him, until finally Hamza said, I testify you are speaking the truth. And now I don't want to go back to the religion of my forefathers. So this is the story of the conversion of Hamza Raziallahu Anhu. And Allah guided his heart. And later on in the Battle of Uhud, he became a martyr. He was called the Sayyid al-Shuhada, leader of the martyrs. He was the son of Abdul Muttalib and the brother of Abu Talib. So when Hamza converted, the Makkans, the Mushriks, had to tone down their hatred towards the Prophet and the Muslims. The second conversion, of course, is Umar ibn al-Khattab. Very interesting. It is reported that just 3 days after the conversion of Hamza, Allah blessed the Muslims with another conversion. And that is the conversion of Umar ibn al-Khattab. It most likely occurred in Zul Hijjah in the 6th year of Dawah. And as we mentioned before, for the second migration to Abyssinia, when Umar passed by a woman named Layla and asked, where are you going? He responded, we are going to Abyssinia because you're tortured, because of you troubling us. We have to leave Makkah, our homeland, in order to worship Allah in another place. She was expecting a harsh response from Umar, but Umar softened at her and commented, has it reached this level? May Allah give you barakah. And when her husband came back, she told him the story. But her husband said, Umar's father's donkeys will accept Islam before he does. So he knew that Umar was a very stubborn, a very staunch enemy of Islam, and no hope about Umar converting to Islam. This was his perception. But he did not know that the Prophet, peace be upon him, had made a dua to Allah for his conversion. The dua for Umar's conversion, it is narrated in Sunan at-Tirmizi. Ibn Umar, the son of Umar, narrated, the Prophet had made a dua to Allah, O Allah, bring glory to Islam through one of these two men, who is the more beloved to you, either Abu Jahl or Umar ibn al-Khattab. And Ibn Umar said Umar was the one who was more beloved than Abu Jahl. Both of these personalities, Umar and Abu Jahl, were physically powerful and in terms of lineage, very powerful, and they were the most severe enemies of Islam. Yet, against all odds, Umar ibn al-Khattab underwent a profound transformation and emerged as one of the greatest khulafa, the greatest leader Islam has ever witnessed. This shows that the guidance is from Allah, right? So, this is the beginning of the story of Umar radiallahu anhu. It was a watershed moment. It marked a turning point in the history of Islam. And as Ibn Masud radiallahu anhu said, when Umar was on his deathbed in 23 after Hijri, he said, we have ever remained in Izzah, honor, since Umar has converted, up until now. Before Umar's conversion, we were not even able to pray in the Haram. But when he converted, that was the day we all were able to pray in the Haram. His title was Al-Faruq, Umar Al-Faruq. Ibn Abbas asked Umar radiallahu anhu once, O Umar ibn al-Khattab, how did you get the title of Al-Faruq? Faruq means the one who divides good from evil. Umar said, the Prophet gave me this title. When I converted, we marched, Umar, Hamza, and all the Muslims, they marched to the Kaaba that day headed by two rows. I was in the first row and Hamza was in the second. And for the first time, we prayed in public. And that was when the Prophet said, you are Umar al-Faruq. The story goes like this. It was a combination of factors. In one version, it is narrated that Umar went out during the evening with a craving for drinking. He wanted to, in Makkah that time, it was very common. He went to the house of a few young men. Okay, we'll have company, we'll have drink, but there was no one there. He went to some other place. Again, there was no one there. He went to the wine cellar, but even the wine cellar was not there. So he said, let me just go to the Kaaba and do tawaf, just to get rid his mind of the craving. So he went to Kaaba and he found the Prophet alone in the middle of the night. So he thought to himself, now is the time to beat this person up. So he crept up behind the Prophet and he found him reciting something. That is the Quran. Just like the rest of the Quraysh, Umar had never listened to the Quran wholeheartedly. So he stopped and began listening. The Prophet didn't know that he was there. He was completely immersed in the recitation. Umar is narrating the story himself in Musnad Imam Ahmad. And Umar is amazed by the rhythm and the power of the surah, Surah Al-Haqqah. And when the Prophet was reciting, Umar began to think, where is this coming from? This must be the beautiful statement of a poet, just like the Quraysh are saying. And as soon as these thoughts crossed his mind, Allah's Prophet recited Surah Al-Haqqah, verse number 41, and it is not the word of a poet. Little do you believe. Then Umar thought, it must be the word of a soothsayer, a magician, that the Prophet recited, nor the word of a soothsayer. Little do you remember. Umar thought, then what is it? Surah Al-Haqqah, chapter number 69, it said, it is a revelation from the Lord of the worlds. Verse number 43. Umar then thought, and what if he is inventing it? Okay. And Muhammad, peace be upon him, recited, and if Muhammad had made up about us some false sayings, we, that is Allah, would have seized him by the right hand, then we would have cut him the aorta. Quran, chapter number 69, verse number 44 to 46. Umar listened until the Prophet finished the entire surah. Umar later said, that was the first time Islam entered my heart and took over. He had not accepted Islam yet, but this was the first time he became a little sympathetic to Islam. Okay. Then one day, the people of the Quraysh were sitting around, and Umar was there, and Abu Jahl once again began his abusing the Prophet, and said, "This man has done more insult to our fathers, our forefathers. He's saying that our forefathers will go to hell, and that the people worshipping the idols are fools, etc." So, who will finally get rid of this man? I promise him 100 camels. Okay, Abu Jahl is giving know, a great offer. I promise him 100 camels, red and black, whatever choice, and I will add 100 uqiyah, pouches of silver. And this was an immense amount of wealth. So Umar thought, this is a good amount of money. Let me go and do it. And even he was, he hated the Prophet like anything. He was a staunch enemy of the Prophet. So he said, okay, I'll do that, and even I will get the money. So he went back home, unsheathed his sword, okay, and made his way towards the Prophet. And subhanallah, in Ibn Ishaq and other riwayat, it is said that as he was walking towards the Prophet, a number of things stopped him along the way. He heard some supernatural voices telling him in eloquent Arabic, "What are you doing? This is just a man saying there is no God other than Allah. Why are you killing him?" Okay, like, please. But he kept on ignoring him until he came across Nuaym ibn Abdullah al-Naham, a recent convert who had kept his Islam a secret. Nuaym asked Umar, "Where are you going? What happened?" Umar said, "Enough is enough. We have been cursed too long. I am going to kill this man, Muhammad." Nuaym panicked and said, "Have you lost your mind, O Umar? Do you really think the Banu Abd Manaf will allow you to walk on the face of this earth after you kill one of their own? And if you really want to do something, go back and fix your own family first. Okay? तुम्हारी family का पहले ख्याल रख." Okay? Okay? Nuaym reprimanded him. Umar was shocked. "What do you mean?" Nuaym said, "Your own sister and brother-in-law have accepted Islam. Go and check." So now Umar is marching to his sister's house in anger. Okay, as he comes close to the door, he hears the recitation of the Quran. There was one teacher appointed by the Prophet, Khattab bin al-Arad. Okay, he was the teacher of these two people. Whenever uh, people converted to Islam, Allah's Prophet appointed a Quran teacher for them. So Khattab was teaching the Quran to Fatima and Said, her husband. And Umar was hearing this as he was walking to the door. He pounded the door, and out of fear, Khattab hid in the closet, and Fatima hid the Quran parchment. And then she said, "Come in, come in. What are you doing here at this time of the day?" Umar said, "What was this noise I heard? This recitation, this humming and drumming. What was this?" Fatima says, "No, you didn't hear anything." Umar said, "By Allah, I know what I heard, and I know that both of you have accepted Islam." Fatima and Saeed continued to deny it, but Umar was very angry. He took a step forward to punch Saeed ibn Zaid, and Fatima got in the way, and the blow landed on her instead of him. And when this happened, both Fatima and Saeed, they were enraged and said, "Yes, we have accepted Islam and we believe in the Prophet. Do as you please." When Umar saw this sincerity, again his heart softened. And we know Umar had a harsh side and a soft side to his personality. Umar calmed down and said, "Let me see what you are reciting." Umar was one of the educated person in Makkah. He could read and write. But this request of his raised Fatima's concerns. What if Umar tore the Quran, the page, or whatever, parchment or stone or hide of the camel, whatever in those days they used to write the Quran on, that stuff. So she is concerned. What if Umar desecrates it? No. So Umar swore to her, "I would not do anything like that. I just want to read it." She said, Fatima said, "Since you are a mushrik, O Umar, you are not allowed to touch the Quran until you purify yourself." So Umar goes quickly, did the ghusl, and comes back and reads the parchment. He reads Surah Taha. Islam enters the heart of Umar. Said saw that Umar had completely calmed down. Umar requested to see the Prophet, peace be upon him. Said took him to the house of Al-Arqam. Okay. Umar knocks at Al-Arqam's house, and one of the Sahaba saw him, and he said, "Ya Rasulullah, Umar is outside with a sword in his hand." To which Hamza said, "Let him in. For if Allah wants good, he will accept Islam. But if Allah wants other than this, the very sword he's holding will be the end of it." Some of the Sahaba went to the door and they escorted Umar to the Prophet. And Umar sat down in front of the Prophet. And Ibn Ishaq says the Prophet held on to Umar's collar and said, "Oh Ibn al-Khattab, what are you doing here?" The Prophet said, by Allah, if you continue in this path, Allah will destroy you with a punishment. And this was when Umar said, I have come to accept Islam. Believe in Allah, believe in you, and testify in the truth. Upon hearing this, the Prophet said, Allah Akbar. Okay, everybody could hear it. After the conversion of Umar, the Muslims publicly prayed in front of the Kaaba. Okay, the narration says that there were around 40 people. Hamza and Umar went together leading the way. This was episode number 20. In the next episode, episode number 21, we are going to see another interesting incident in the biography of the Prophet, the boycott, the Makkans boycotting the Muslims. So, inshallah, we'll meet again. I've shared the notes in my WhatsApp group. Be connected with me in my on my social media pages on Facebook, on Insta, on YouTube. Obed Khan, OBEDKHN, Obed Khan.